Indeglio.
Motivate, focus, achieve, inspire. Reach all your goals, have fun, and set the pace for others with Dr. Indeglio as you explore social, emotional, and physical growth through real-life experiences. The journey of 1,000 miles begins where you stand.
They don't know about us. It's what we do. They don't know. This is what we do. They don't know about us. It's what we do.
All right. Well, hey, how's it going, Nick?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm good, man.
Now, where are you right now?
I'm in Salt Lake City.
And it is mountain time in Salt Lake City.
It's always mountain time in Salt Lake City.
That is awesome. Just the sound of mountain time is pretty cool.
I know. I was really happy to tell you that I was in mountain time.
It sounds rugged. Like you definitely need a beard being out there and living the life in mountain time out there.
Yeah, it feels like a fantasy time zone. Like it's not actually one of the real ones.
It's sandwiched in between. It's like a Stephen King parallel universe. Sandwiched in between the Dark Tower and time somewhere. Well, as we get started, the purpose of this podcast and one of the reasons we wanted you to be episode 1 is because the whole idea here is to try to inspire people, to try to help them find even more value in their everyday lives. And whether that's, looking at a meme on Instagram or listening to a podcast or watching a FaceTime video, just telling people's stories, real people's stories that, could be or will be inspiring. And I am a self-professed, it's no secret, I am a fan of the Hustle Standard in all its iterations, in all its different forms. So for me, it's kind of like a fanboy type thing. It was cool getting to meet you a couple years back at Mike and Jen's wedding. And I guess that's kind of where it started. When we were at that wedding, I remember coming home and driving back with Denise and the girls. And Denise and I are since divorced. That relationship didn't work out. But we were talking about how cool was it to watch Jen's friends and Mike's friends too, but in particular, just you and Eve and what that relationship looked like, and just two people who clearly loved each other and were there having a good time and having fun, even considering all the challenges and the things you guys were going through at that time. So to have someone like you whose music is inspiring, and then two people who as a couple are so inspiring, I just thought the journey you've been on would be a great way to, kind of debut this podcast and debut this whole Indeglio website. And so I'm honored that you agreed to be on and be a part today. So first, thank you very much for being here and being a part of this. As we do it, we've got our eyes, so we're all set for as we go through.
Let me just say real quick, thank you very much for saying all that. And I'm really I'm really excited to be a part of this, so I'm ready to have a lot of fun.
All right, so first question. As I've been watching your videos on your month-long or longer, the journey now that you've been across the country, you said in the beginning, it was your first video right before you headed out onto the road, and you said it was time to find your passion again, what you want to do and why you do it. So start there. The impetus for the journey was to find the passion. And how have you been doing that? What's been going on, during these weeks that you've been traveling?
We've caught me at a good time because I'm feeling very good and passionate. But I left July 1st. Today is August 14th, right?
August 14th.
So it's been a month and a half. I'll be out another 2-3 weeks on the road. But really I was just trying to stay open. And after my wife passed away, it was there's just a lot to deal with, and a lot of I kind of just got very open to life and just said life is pretty finite, and what do I want to be doing with it? Do I want to? I even questioned do I want to be making music? I went completely there, everything, question everything. Where do I want to be living? What do I want to be doing? What do I want to be eating? How do I want to be spending my days? Which is, can actually make you pretty anxious.
Absolutely.
thinking about all those different possibilities and having really, I'm fortunate to be in the position to be able to take this 2 month trip and question everything in my life and all that. But at the same time, you know, I think there are people who would have been afraid, even in my position, to leave and just go and see what you find, and um, so in the beginning, I didn't really know what was going to happen. I was just trying to stay open and see what influences I got and what experiences I had. And, what was amazing about it, and this has happened to me a couple times in my life now, is I realized that if I could just be making music all day, I'd be the happiest person on the planet. And I realized that, or re-realized that, in Los Angeles. Me and Jake Hill wrote a couple songs together, and it just reignited something, reignited that passion that I was looking for. And now that I'm in Salt Lake City, I've taken a couple days, almost a week to myself, just to be alone and in one space and be able to cook for myself and all those things. And I felt so creative and so alive, and I'm taking care of myself, and so I'm in a good place, like I said.
So over the course of the 6 weeks, you've basically reignited what was already there. I mean, you said at one point you were questioning whether or not music was even what you wanted to do. And is it just a feeling, from the experiences over the past 6 weeks that kind of told you this is what I need to be doing? Or was it the process of making music again when you started to feel like, hey, this is where I need to be?
Well, and I'd also like to, just to jump back a second, I'd like to be clear that when I was questioning whether or not music is what I want to do or not, it wasn't a huge crisis. I was just bringing the question up just to question it,
Right.
Just to make sure. But anyway, to jump back to this question, it was a combination. It was like, getting together with Jake. Me and Jake always have a good time writing together, so it was like a safe environment for me to be in, and yeah, just it started flowing, and I felt creative in a different way, that I felt like I'd grown creatively, and there's just a certain feeling that I get when I'm creating music that I don't get from doing anything else. So, and it's a great feeling, so yeah, I want that. So that's sort of what it was, I guess.
The quick side note: does Jay ever take the sunglasses off, or is that like his thing? Those
No, he takes his sunglasses off.
every video, in all the songs, the sunglasses they're there all the time.
Is he really? I didn't even notice that. We'll have to keep it up.
It's like a pro wrestling gimmick, There's you got to have your thing that's there every time you do it.
Yeah.
So you talked about that experience in L.A. What was it like in Alabama when you actually went to Muscle Shoals and the inspiration for the name of your studio back at home? Was there inspiration there as well, or is that just more of a sacred place type thing?
No, it was pretty cool. It's definitely a sacred place. I wanted to go and just see what it was, and it's incredible because you would drive through it and not even know you passed it. It's really like an almost non-existent place. There's like a CVS right next to the big studio. It's in the big studio there shares a parking lot with CVS. So anyway, I met a guy a couple weeks earlier who plays pedal steel, and his name's Todd Bean, and I met him in Nashville, and he said, we got talking, and I was like, it'd be really interesting to put some pedal steel on like my records, like not country records,
Right.
So he was down, and it was on my route, and I was like, I can't miss it, and it wasn't like that wasn't like a big aha moment for me. I mean, it was great, and it was a good time making music and stuff like that. We weren't really writing. He was playing on stuff I had previously written and stuff. So it was just like a good time hanging out with a dude, laying down some pedal steel,
In a cool place, which is definitely awesome.
Yeah.
So it's been an emotional journey for you. If you've been watching, and I'm sure a lot of the people listening or watching have seen the videos you've posted on YouTube. And to a large degree, what you've been doing is living a life philosophy right now. So you're taking a chance. Like you said, a lot of people might not have the opportunity to take the time that you've taken, but at the same time, would they have taken it had they had that opportunity? You get that one shot. Do you actually take that shot? You did. And you've been open and sharing the whole way through. And my brother and I discussed this a little bit yesterday, that sometimes when you're putting out raw emotion like that, that's hard. Not just for you, but for other people as well, to see, to process, to deal with their own feelings through that. As you've been going through all the different places you've been to, and the experiences you've been feeling, have you consciously been trying to process what's happened, over the past 5 months? Or, like you said, is it really just more, I wake up, I know where I'm going, and I'm going to see what happens that day?
Um, it's been it's actually been a little difficult to process in the first probably 5 weeks of the trip, because most of my time was spent with other people. I was stopping to, like in Alabama, I stopped there to do pedal steel. I stopped in Louisville. That's where her parents are, and
Mm-hmm.
his family and stuff. So I was around them. And then Texas, I was with friends and family, and California with friends and family. So everywhere I kind of went, I was staying with people or meeting people and stuff like that. And there really wasn't a lot of time to myself. My sister was with me for about 12 days. So yeah, I was experiencing, and I was, getting a lot of love from people, and that was great and all that stuff. And I'm don't wish that the trip was any different. But August 6th was after August 6th. I haven't been with anybody, so
Okay.
it's been um, whatever it's been, 10 days, 8 days, something like that. That I've actually had for the first time consecutive days alone. And when I first got out and on my own for like 2 3 days, it was heavy. Like I was like, ooh, I've got a lot going on in here, and I actually had to, like, breathe
Yeah.
and figure out a way to, like, process that stuff and live with it and still enjoy this trip. I didn't want to be on this trip and be not enjoying where I was. So yeah, it's been interesting.
The a lot of the podcasts and the videos talking about life, and that's a conversation Mike and I were having yesterday, and just talking about how different experiences can influence your philosophy on life and things like that. And one way to look at it, a lot of people believe, hey, everything happens for a reason. And other people's philosophy, which is my philosophy, has been, we have to make reason out of everything that happens. And you have to take control of the pieces of your life and the world that you can control, because there's not a lot of it. So much of it is out of our control. So the
Yeah.
things that can be, we got to take advantage of that. There's a lyric in one of your songs called Smoking Gun, that kept playing back to me kind of over and over again, as I was thinking about the kind of things I wanted to talk about and kind of give you a chance to tell the world about. And it's subtle. It happens quickly through the song, and it goes, so people don't believe in you? Well, it's not their job to believe in you. You have to do that. So in context of where you are in life right now, what does that lyric in particular mean to you right now?
Um, I mean, I think it means the same thing it meant then, honestly. Um, but having that belief before all this happened, I think has helped me go through it the way that I'm going through it.
Okay.
Um, you know, I am a pretty independent person, and I sort of also pride myself on that independence, sometimes to a fault, but uh, and so yeah, I think that, like, I'm responsible for the way that I feel. I'm responsible for how I go about living. I'm responsible for how I interact with people. I think life is about choices, and if you make, you know, whatever choices you make, you have to live with them. So, you know, think about that.
What would you say, out of all your stops along the way, and the things you've shared on YouTube and in your hustle shoals and the blog there, what was the most impactful? What meant the most to you so far?
Being in Santa Fe was huge. That's where my wife and I were married. Um, that was probably that to me was where I felt like my trip began, even though it was maybe 10, 10, 12 days into the trip. Um, it was probably the first real day that I got to spend alone and just go do what I wanted to do. Got to do some stuff to honor my wife, um, things like that. So that day was beautiful for me. Um, just being able to feel a lot of stuff. And then being in Los Angeles was, and I've used this word when I've talked to a couple other people, felt transformative. I was saying that I wrote with Jake, and I just felt like I was, to be honest, I was scared after my wife passed that I wasn't going to be able to do what I do anymore. And because she was such an impact on my life. Hustle Standard started right when I met my wife. And so any success that I've had through that, she's been with me for. And so I was scared that like I wasn't going to have the drive or I wasn't going to have the inspiration. So when I got with Jake and it was just flowing, we wrote 4 songs in 2 days.
Wow.
And we were just going for it. So that was a transformative experience. And then also another great place I was Redwood National Forest in Northern California.
Wow.
Was just powerful, man. I mean, I've sort of said it a lot to to people, but like, have you ever been in that part of the country?
I've been to San Francisco, but what I know about Big Sur and the Redwoods, that's on the bucket list of places to get to.
Yeah. So they're just huge. I mean, every single one of them is bigger than your car. And they're 100 and 200 feet tall, and they're just straight up, and they're strong and powerful. And I was on like a 9-hour drive from Portland to the town I was going to in Northern California, and I stopped and got out and like went for a hike in the forest for like an hour because it was just so beautiful. So those 3 places are probably highlights for me on this trip.
Heavy energy. I've heard a lot of people say that visiting the Redwood, you really kind of understand your place in the universe and just what nature really means. Like, how minute we really are. And like you said, that's like if there's a finite, feel to it, and that's just such an ancient and awesome place. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, man.
So at the beginning of your videos, the music, when the Hustle Standard piece pops up, it says life, music, and discovery.
Uh-huh.
So we carefully pick the words and the phrases and the things that brand us. So obviously those 3 words, life, music, and discovery, have significant meaning to you, to have that be part of what you put out, to the world.
Yeah.
What was the origin of that? And you said, Hustle Standard started when you met your wife and that part of your life began. So what does it mean?
Life, music, and discovery. I started making these hustle shows, videos, I forget when, late 2015, something like that. And, I wanted them to be honest. I wanted to relate to people through my life and show that, like, a lot of people put videos out and they want to look perfect.
Yep.
They want to look like they have everything figured out. And that's not inspiring to me, So, yeah, I wanted to show my life. Music is a huge part of my life, so there's going to be a lot of that involved, and discovery. So that's the part of not being perfect. That's the part of growing and being open and finding things out. So, yeah.
It's now I'm going back to the conversation with my brother yesterday, and his episode will debut after yours. But part of that conversation was you're first, number 1. That's the way it goes.
That's right.
Part of that conversation was authenticity, and there was an article written. There's a Twitter account called Scary Mommy. It's just a woman whose goal is to be on social media and to be real about being a mother, being a wife, being a friend, just being. And she was making fun of this Facebook trend that's going around right now. It's called the Love Your Spouse Challenge, and basically it's posting 7 days worth of pictures of your spouse and things like that. And in her post, she posted 7 pictures of the way marriage really looks day to day, and the arguing and the fatigue and all of that. But she said something very impactful, and this is what my brother and I were talking about, and you just touched on it, about the face we put out and what we show people and wanting to be honest. And she said that social media can be very bad for our own self-confidence and self-image because we put our best 5% on Facebook, on Instagram, on Snapchat, on whatever. We show the 5% of our lives that we want people to see, whether it's pictures of our kids, a successful, concert with people there, whatever those positives are. And we know we're doing that when we're doing it. However, we judge 100% of our lives based on the 5% that other people put out there. And it's such an unbalanced and unhealthy dichotomy when you really think about it, is that, we're judging ourselves against a standard that's not real. So here's, your goal and what you've been doing and the videos you put out, always tinged with humor, and there's comedy in there. That attacks that, to a degree. And to me, those are the things that I think are what more people need to see. What really is going on in people's lives. Reality TV is staged. It's not real. What you're trying to put out is real. It is authentic. So have you ever sat and given some thought to when you're putting together your online presence, your digital presence, not just that you're trying to be authentic, but that what all of it looks like when you're putting it out there?
Of course, I think about what it's going to look like, and even though I'm trying to, even though that I'm trying to show real stuff and be honest and all that stuff, I don't show everything. I feel like it would be in some ways a little indulgent for me to grab a camera when I'm crying or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's these are my moments, but I try to share a lot of moments. And I'd also like to, listening to what you were saying, I agree, but I'd also like to touch on something and just say that, ever since TV was invented, we've had unrealistic expectations put on us, or maybe not put on us, but broadcast at us.
Mm-hmm.
And today it's a little more blatant, but it's still the individual's responsibility to go out there and just live their own life. So I mean, but look, I am one of those people that's trying to put out material that's a lot more real and a lot more honest and things like that. But hopefully it inspires somebody. I just like things that are deep, like things not like deep thoughtful, but just go beyond the first layer.
Right.
And but anyway, I sort of touched on 7 topics in that one sentence. But
No, that's it's so relevant to what I think the whole point of the conversation is, and the whole point of putting this out there is you've already shared so much. So it's just kind of digging a little deeper and looking at some of the other avenues that are, the offshoots, the roads that you didn't take, when you're taking the journey, and other things to talk about and discuss. As I kind of went through your digital catalog, the website, the music, the vlogs, the hustle shoals. It's evident to me in a lot of ways that, and whether it's conscious or not conscious, that it feels like you believe in the interconnected energy that's there between people, and that the magic really comes from when people get together and can collaborate honestly in ways. The videos, I say videos, but it's music, it's whatever, however the medium dictates. What you do with Rob Bailey looks different than what you do with Jay, then looks different than what you've done and collaborated with others. That looks very different, I think, than your individual, blog, your video blog. They all have very unique identities. However, it's still all tinged with Charlie to a degree. Are you conscious of that? Does it feel different when you're making that music and when you're with Rob or you're with Jay or you're by yourself? What's that creative process like for you? And, when is it inspiring and makes you feel, oh man, I'm really gung-ho today? And when doesn't it? Or do you have trouble? Is it hard sometimes to collaborate like you do? I just asked you 7 questions, so
yeah,
I'm getting back at you.
Let's go. You got. All right, let's figure that out. Which one are we talking about first?
The collaborating with the different people you've worked with.
And how it differs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I love being a producer. It's probably the thing I'm most passionate about when it comes to music. I like being with different artists. I like trying to get the best out of that person and push them further. When you're working alone or you're by yourself, you kind of don't pass certain limits because, I don't know, you're self-conscious. And I like giving people that opportunity to grow more or try something in a safe environment. So so I sort of approach every project like that. But where it differs is everybody's different. Rob is super intense, super aggressive, but he's also he also really cares. he gets frustrated when he sees people not being their best, because he sees that you can be, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? Go be better, So, we kind of can approach things from that level and go for it that way. And then another difference with Rob is that, he didn't pursue a music career. He's not like a lifelong artist per se, like I am, or like Jake is, or the Oxymorons, or whoever else I'm working with. So there's a different approach there too. I'm doing a lot more of the direction, I guess, in some ways, but in some ways not. It's hard. I can't just say that, but I'm definitely doing, all of the music production. I'm coming to him with tracks before we write to it. Where, on the other hand, with Jake, he is an artist. He's a songwriter that I look up to. So it's awesome to be able to work with someone like that, and then take their talents and put them in my world. Like, I feel lucky. Like, yes, I get to play with this monster of a singer and songwriter and put him in all my stuff. And so there's a little more music collaboration going on there with someone like Jake. And I like to push him too. He sort of sits in his lane of folk Americana, and when we get together, I'll mess with the way he sings, or the melodies he would typically go with, and things like that. So, yeah, it's definitely different with everybody. I try to approach it fresh with everybody, and the more I grow as a producer, the less I actually try to put my opinion into it, and I try to just get their opinion on there.
So in terms of just you, when it's just Charlie, when it's just the Hustle Standard, what kind of music do you want to make right now? You said you have 4 tracks in the work. What's coming up next? What can we expect the next time there's music released?
I don't know what the exact next music's going to be. I think it's probably going to be J. Kill, because we just wrote some stuff. We've probably got 6 songs now. I'm starting to write some of my own songs, like solo stuff. I don't know what it's going to sound like. I know for me, in my history, I like things that have some weight to them, so it's always gonna bring some sort of dramatic element to it, and there's gonna be, it's gonna sound interesting, at least to me. And but the songs, I think I'm gonna start using a lot less auto-tune. I'm gonna use it when it's fun, or when it seems like that's exactly what I want to go for. But definitely singing a lot more without the auto-tune. I like rapping, so that'll be on there. But we'll see what it's going to be. I don't really know at the moment.
Now is a good opportunity for a bit of a plug. A lot of the content that's out there, that you put out there, it's free access. People can get their hands on it. There's a lot of people, though, who in the community, whether it's the music or a certain piece of the music, they want to support financially as well. So, for example, the stuff you have on iTunes, if you're an Apple Music member now, you're paying your $9.99 a month, but that's not necessarily going into your pocket. So, can people support the Hustle Standard monetarily too? Like, how do you become a part of that? I mean, you have to live day to day and work to make your money as well, right?
Yeah, no, it's been really cool. I mean, people buy the records. They're for sale on iTunes. They're for sale on Amazon. What is it? Amazon Music, Amazon MP3, something like that. They're for sale on whatever site you can actually buy MP3s on. And that's amazing. People support us really well. People really support us that way. And the cool thing that happens is that people who really love what we're doing, they not only buy the actual songs, but then they'll go and listen to it on Spotify, which, they don't pay a ton of money, but we get a little bit of money from that. Or they'll go, buy our album and then go listen to it on YouTube Red or whatever it is now.
Right.
And stuff. So, that's been really cool, and like sort of a modern, interesting thing about the music industry today.
It's the whole, again, we've morphed into the digital world to a large degree, and I compare it to what the WWE Network has done, where for the performers in the industry, instead of traditional pay-per-views and the kind of paydays they used to get from that, now that everything's on that network, they have to figure out a whole new way to kind of share that revenue and like how we're going to kind of move off in the 21st century there. So it is uncharted territory to a large degree. But people at the same time, they can listen to all your stuff on YouTube for free as well. So you're definitely giving them a choice about how they want to access and basically consume your content to a degree.
Yeah, and if I don't put it on YouTube, someone else will. So
yeah, it's a good point. The one of the more interesting tunes that's come out lately has been the Zombie Killer track. And I think we talked a little bit when you were up at the house a few months ago that was it was an independent movie that was being put out, or some people were working on, and they came to you guys.
Movie was Range 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you sought them out because you knew it was happening, or did they seek you out asking? They were looking for music.
I sought them out. A friend of mine, Drew Hernandez, who has a really great Facebook page called A Combat Veteran. There's a little plug for him.
Okay.
He's a combat veteran, and he follows these guys who did Range 15, who are also vets, and he follows them on social media, and they wanted to make this crazy zombie apocalypse movie that probably couldn't have been made through a regular movie production house or whatever studio. So they funded it themselves. They raised like $1 million on GoFundMe or something. And so my friend Drew was like, yo man, this is a really cool project. You should see if they want to use some of your music. He's like, I think they know who you are, and you and Rob and stuff. And I was like, great. So I reached out to them. They got back to me. They were really stoked that we were going to let them use some of our music. And I was on the phone with them, or on Skype or something with them, and they were like, yeah, this is awesome, thanks, man. And then the one guy was like, hey, would you I know you're being really cool, but how would you feel about making an original song for the movie? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So, that's kind of how it happened, and they really appreciated it, and I just thought it was cool to be able to be a part of something that meant so much to the veteran community, so.
Now, is that project completed yet, or are they still working on that? The actual movie.
So they had a release. I think it released in 300, 400 theaters across the country, but it only released for one day. You had to go see it that day, or So I think it's coming out on Blu-ray and digital in a couple weeks or something like that.
Okay, well we'll try to plug that as well and get people watching and listening and tune them into that, which is. I'm a zombie movie fanatic.
Yeah.
So we try to catch all of them.
This one's pretty crazy. I haven't seen it. I've only read the script, but this one's pretty wild.
Yeah, I love me some horror movies. Another lyric from that Smoking Gun song, the one piece of that I didn't touch on, talks about regret being the ghost that haunts. Large part of your trip, what you're doing right now, it's about not having any regrets. You know what I mean? You're taking the time to do the things you feel like you have to do. But again, my brother and I, and what we were talking about yesterday, we were also talking about that regret's not always a bad thing. That anyone in their life that doesn't have at least some regrets maybe hasn't lived as hard as maybe they could have. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to lose, or sometimes you have to make a choice, whereas whichever choice you make, there's going to be regret on the other side of that. How about you? Does the hustle standard have any regrets in your short life so far? And are they ones that you just kind of learn from, or are they the kind that you're gonna you want to go out and do something about at some point?
It's funny. Regret and failure are kind of two words that I don't use, and actually, they're in the song, but it's to make a point. But regret is something. The only time I think about regret is in foresight, when I'm looking ahead and I'm like, you know what? If you don't do that, you're going to regret it. And just having that in the back of my mind has kept me from regretting a lot of stuff. And then in situations where it seems like, well, you could do this or you could do that, and either way you might regret the one that you don't do. I don't know. Somehow I'm able to just say, you know what, this is my choice, and I'm going to go all the way with this choice, and sort of, maybe I can do that other choice later, or maybe who cares? You know what I mean?
Right.
This is the choice that I'm going with, and I'm going to go with it. And I don't know. The same thing with failure. I hear people throw around the word failure all the time, and it's like, what do you mean? You failed? Or what do you mean that person failed 7 times before they had a successful business? And now, they say that about like, these billionaires. They're like, oh, he failed at 6 businesses and now he's a billionaire. It's like, well, I guess that wasn't failure, was it?
Right. Learning.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I've never really had moments in my life where when I was younger, I definitely had that mentality of like failing and a fear of failure and all that stuff. And at some point, it was just like, no, just keep going. Life just keeps happening. Like you're not failing. This isn't the end. And the other thing on the other side of that is you don't ever really succeed. Like, and that's not to be pessimistic, but it's like, okay, so you accomplish something, but then you wake up tomorrow.
Yep.
It's like
What's
you have
next?
to keep going. So, and you can't. I don't think you can not have failure and then only have success. Like I'm just trying to be fair with both terms. But yeah. So that's my thing. I think like with my wife, I mean that's a big thing where I could have a lot of regrets, and there's definitely some things I look at and I'm like, could we have done this? Could we have done that? And at the moment after she passed away, I remember knowing, I wrote it down in my journal, I actually read it 2 days ago, went back and read this. We did every possible thing that we could do with the amount of time that we had. And could we have done different things? Yeah, I guess. But we didn't have time to do anything else. We would have had to have not done something else to do that other thing. So that really helps with regret, is knowing we did everything we could, So, yeah, I'm sure I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying I don't have any regrets or anything like that. But I just look at them like, yeah, cool, but I'm doing this, so I'm good.
In the having gone through the experience you went through and helping Eve through what she went through, looking at cancer as a disease now, have your views changed at all in terms of how you feel about the efforts that are out there, looking for cures or looking for measures that or treatments that maybe are less harsh and less painful? Like now that you've experienced basically the hardest thing that there is to go through in terms of cancer and losing the person closest to you, what does that fight look like going forward, you think?
I actually haven't spent much time thinking about it, honestly. My life, the way we lived when she had cancer, our life was not about cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And my life still isn't about cancer. And do I wish they had like a cure? Yeah, of course. But they didn't, and they don't, and maybe one day they'll find it. And, I don't think about it too much. Part of the reason why I don't think about it too much is that I don't want to get pissed off about the process and all that stuff, so I kind of just leave it, and because there's nothing I can do about it.
You've been so positive in the way you've dealt with everything, but you don't shy away from talking about being angry sometimes. And is to you, is anger a healthy emotion? Is it a good thing? Or is it, when you're feeling that, are you trying to find ways to kind of, push it aside or to get past that emotion? How do you process anger?
Anger, good or bad, I don't know, but it's an indication for me. It's an indication that I've got something unresolved going on. So I try to just look deeper into like, what am I angry about? And is it something I can do something about? Is it something I should just try and get over? Or, what can I do about it?
The empathy obviously is something that's a part of who you are, being able to feel the feelings other people are feeling. And Eve was the type of person who had so many people in her life who loved her and who she loved back as well. How do you try to process everything that you've been going through, yet at the same time be supportive to everyone else who had their own unique relationships with Eve too, and to honor all of that and, be true to yourself and at the same time help others?
That's a good question. It's been that's been an up and down thing for me. I'm so grateful for the amount and quality of friends that I've gained through being with my wife. and meeting my wife and living a life with her. Um, but they're, and like I want to support everybody. I'm sort of that kind of person where I want to be there for everybody. Um, but I've realized going through this extreme process that I just can't be,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to, I'm going to continue to be in all these people's lives because I love them and they're my friends and stuff like that. But it's hard. It's hard sometimes when you go places and especially when you're around a lot of people, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of friends, a lot of stuff like that. And like the first time I went back to LA, it wasn't on this trip, it was before this trip. And, it was about a month after Eve had passed, and I went to LA, and, I met up with a lot of her friends. And, for them, it was almost the first time that they were really processing it, seeing me without her.
Mm-hmm.
And that was tough for me. It was like, wait, I need you to be here for me, and you want me to be here for you. And, I don't blame anyone for any of that. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm just saying, it's a tough, interesting process to go through when you do want to be there for people, but you just don't have the capacity for it.
It's that whole adage of there's only so much in the tank, and
Yeah.
we spend in it's I'm not making an analogy or a comparison, but it's an interesting conversation piece that in my role in what I do every day as a principal, I look at it as when I wake up in the morning and I drive into work, my bank account, my energy bank account is at 100%. And then I get in there, and then throughout the course of the day, I'm making withdrawals constantly. And
Yep.
if I'm not aware of the kind of withdrawals I'm making, I'm going to overdraft, and I'm going to be in the red, and I don't want to be in the red. And if you can't kind of balance that or find a way to balance that to a degree, you're going to wind up doing something stupid. Whether and in my world, maybe that's snapping at a teacher that I shouldn't, or not responding as quickly to my boss, or whatever that might be.
Yep.
And forever in life. But it's being aware of that emotional capital and the debits and credits that you're putting in and taking out to a degree. And
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think people, and I don't know, maybe you feel differently. Having gone through what you've gone through, I don't think people give themselves the time they really need to heal from significant emotional experiences. I once heard, and there was no, it might have been like the Oprah show for all I know. I don't think there was any research behind it, but someone said that the first stage of grieving literally takes an entire year, because over the course of a calendar year, you go through all the firsts
Yeah.
of things being different, and whether it's
Yeah.
whether it's death or divorce or whatever, you know what I mean, like it's
Yeah.
loss essentially, and you can't even really process everything until you've gone through so much of that, and I think people just feel like, oh my god, we need to be okay right away, we need to hurry through this,
Yeah.
and we need to start feeling good again, or trying to help others going through things feel good again, rather than just letting them feel, like just letting
Yeah.
them go through it and live it.
Yeah, I definitely, when it first happened, I think I was in some sort of shock or something, and I was like, all right, well, now it's time to live, and it was like, I need to go live because my wife just died, and I have life, and I need to honor that and all that stuff, and so I tried to go down that road, and I got stopped in my tracks for sure, and now I feel like I'm doing a lot healthier of a job at it. I don't know how to do this. I've never. This is the first person close to me I've ever lost. So it's different. I've been through some things in life that I think have helped me deal with this better, but nothing like this. So I'm making it up as I go.
I don't think there's a blueprint for it. I mean, people telling you there's a solution or there's a book that can, or a pill you can take. It's all the charlatans and smoke screens and all that, which is nonsense. You were saying, you've been through a lot, in your life, and again, your sense of humor always comes through with the things that you've talked about, and the positivity that comes through the music is always there. What's your advice for people, anyone listening, anyone going through whatever it may be, to remain positive? There's multiple schools of thought. There's the people who have to process a certain way and maybe go through therapy to get through things. Then there's the Jim Wendler approach, or the Rob Bailey and the Hustle Standard approach of get up and fall forward and dust the shoes off. and then there's the the feeling deep, the conversations and all of that. So what do you tell people when they want to, sitting over a cup of coffee and they need some help? What kind of advice do you try to give?
I throw my coffee in their face. No, I'm just kidding. It depends. Everybody's different. Every situation's different. For me, I find that I take responsibility for my state, for the way I'm feeling, and I try to do whatever I can to get myself back to the place that I want to be in. Whether that's reading books that I think are going to inspire me or give me some good information to move forward, whether that's listening to certain kind of music, watching certain movies, TV shows, hiking certain places. It's never the same, and I'm always searching for like the next thing that's gonna help me get back to a state where I feel motivated and enthusiastic and loving and all the things that I for myself like to be. Now, that said, do you not you, but people, if I'm talking to somebody, do you even know what you want to be? Do you even know what state you want to be in? Because if you don't, then how are you going to get there? If you just want to be happy, well, cool, but every moment isn't about being happy, So, like, how do you want to be? How do you want to act in moments throughout the day? How do you want to react to people? How do you want to love the people in your life? Those are good questions to ask yourself.
Well stated, and again, it's deep. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of philosophy to think about there. We went through the McDonald's. I don't know why that struck this a certain chord, but girls wanted Happy Meals before they went home to mom today. So of course, Dad just gives them what they want. So we went through the drive-through, and the woman working the drive-through teller, man, she was the most upbeat.
Oh, cool.
Energetic. I asked for a specific color of the Happy Meal toy. She's like, oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Gave me a free soda because they forgot to put it on the order. And as I'm driving away, I'm thinking, okay, clearly someone like her, she's not going to be at McDonald's, the rest of her life. However, whatever her goals are, she knows that if this is where I am right now, and this is where I am right now, I'm going to be the best goddamn McDonald's teller that I can possibly be. You know what I mean? And that's, I think it's that kind of attitude, you know what I mean? And that, looking to chart not only where you're going, but really charting and paying attention to where you are. That can make such a difference. Just in how you feel, just feeling positive about things. And, it's just fascinating to kind of watch the journey you've been on and what that looks like day to day, and the choices you've made along the way, which to me, it's inspiring. I mean, I really love doing it. And that's, again, one of the main reasons I wanted you to be, the first guest on the show and to kind of kick things off as we're trying to inspire people a little bit there.
Yeah.
Well, you've run the gamut of my questions and topics. Anything else you wanted to touch base on or talk about?
I want to say this. For some reason, what you were talking about with the girl at McDonald's and stuff, and I've been watching a little bit of the Olympics, and it's been so fun, not for obvious reasons, but to watch the women's beach volleyball.
Okay.
The Carrie Walsh, is that her name?
Yeah.
Carrie
Yep.
Walsh Jennings or something like that. She's so excited all the time about what's happening during those games. And you can just see it. You know that she's going to will herself to victory. And she has a great time doing it. When it doesn't go their way, she's real quick to slap her partner's hand and just say, all right, we got this next one. When it does go their way, they celebrate every point, and not in a crazy way, but They just take like a minute to celebrate that point and get refocused. Then after the game, when they win, which is like every time, she goes around and she slaps gives everybody a high five, and she's just so happy to be there. And it's been inspiring to watch that and say, like, okay, I need to be happy to be where I am. I need to be happy to be making music and feel good that, like, I have this opportunity to do all this stuff, and I'm making music that is having a positive and meaningful impact on people's lives, So that's just an inspiring thing that I saw that, I don't know, maybe some other people can get something from it too.
And hopefully the whole Olympic Games that way, hopefully to a large degree. I think so many of those stories that are like that are there this time around. Michael Phelps, personally, I might not be the biggest fan of his. However, to watch where he's gone from 2012, where he decided, I'm going into the 45-day rehab, and then he decides to rediscipline himself and commit to competing again. And look at what he's done, at the ripe old age of 31. But he's proven that when your mind is where it's supposed to be, put focus towards that goal and willing to put the work in. That's the other piece. We didn't touch much about that. We've been at the 35,000 foot level, but we've not that we skipped over it. However, there's a lot of discipline involved in doing what you do, in putting together, the music and every facet of that music and each individual track, and does the right lyric fit here, and do I have to rap this a different way? Like, we're not, we can save that for a different podcast topic, just the real meat and potatoes that go into all that. But it's just an example, an illustration that, man, you can do it. However, you've got to be willing to evaluate where you are and then decide where you're going to go, like you were saying. And so many of those Olympic stories, I feel, have been doing that. The one of the quotes for my website, for the whole bit, is from one of the great warriors of the world and great minds, the Lao Tzu. Often misinterpreted. The saying is that people always misinterpret it as the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step, and it's misinterpreted. It's actually the journey of 1,000 miles begins where you stand. And I think that's the piece that, we miss a lot of times. You know what I mean? It's like the here and the now and where we are, and being willing to, instead of saying we're going to do it tomorrow, let me assess where things are right here and just make a positive change or a step in the right direction that'll get me where I want to go.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah. Nick, it's been awesome to talk with you. You too. I'm so glad to have you on. And like I said, we'll do it again. Maybe we'll get Mike with us next time and wax philosophic even deeper. So much of what we talked about. Mike's fun to hang out with. He always asks good questions. He does. Yeah, he's a good guy. You guys got to collaborate at some point too, man, the two of you. Yeah, man. I just want to plug my stuff real quick. Do it. I got a YouTube series, sort of a vlog thing, youtube.com/Hustle Standard. And you can find me on all the social media at Hustle Standard. And your presence is pretty much everywhere. I mean, your Instagram, the Twitter account, the Facebook Snapchat page, and all of that you can access very easily from the website too, hustlestandard.com. Correct? Yes. All right, that's good stuff, my man. Thank you so much for being with us today and being a part of the podcast. All right, man. Hope to see you soon. All right, yeah, definitely.
Thank you for spending time with us today. Remember, either you run the day or the day runs you. Make a difference!